Evening, everyone.
everyone.
Apologies for the delay. We basically had some technical issues, but we're good to go now. As per the topic, don't like that. The echo is kind of feeding. Give me a second. Let me just take my headset off. I don't like the feedback.
Make sure you don't have your ancestors behind you making noise.
Okay. I've taken my headset off.
It's not out.
All right. Based on the topic today, I will put our guest Njoki. She's going to basically take it away. But before we do that, just as always, we are the emerging Alkebulan. We are here to decolonize our minds, to make us think differently, to see things differently, and to do things differently. Just introducing myself here. I'm Olaledo. My sister and Mitugo will go, guys will go, and I will get our guest to go, and I will take it from there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
So try muting us all and then speak. Let's do that first.
Twice.
The audience can wait so that we can all hear each other.
Okay.
So see if everyone is muted and one person is speaking. That helps. See, these Westerns have trained us to think that we need to be perfect.
Yeah.
And still laugh about it.
Okay, Nduku, go.
All right. My name is Mitugo. I am one of the co-hosts on Kumbukeni. And we do have our ancestors today here. I welcome them. I'm always inviting them. I hope Dad and Kimathi is here. I hope Harriet Tubman is here. All those warrior ancestors, I hope they're here because we need them for this one. So if that's them, that's echoing. Thank you for being here with us. Yes, I am one of the co-hosts of Kumbukeni, helping decolonize our minds because we have found out that apparently all these years of going to school was a process intentionally instilled by these oppressors to condition our minds and to colonize our minds. We were not only colonized physically, we were colonized mentally and spiritually. And so we are now working, we are in the treatment process of healing our African selves.
The volume is gone. Fazu, can you go?
Me?
Yeah.
Hi there. My name's. Yeah, that's loud. That's loud. My name is Faisal. I'm from Cape Town. I always struggle to introduce myself. But I think for the purpose of this, I can say that I'm a former politicrat. I've worked in the highest political offices in South Africa. I'm also a political scientist. And I used the last 15 to 20 years to exercise my brain so that I am able to come up with independent thought. Because I have realized 20 years ago when I left my television set, which I have subsequently learned to call Idiot Box, on my stoop to be stolen, that when your television is off for long enough, and I'm advising people to put theirs off for at least a day or a week or a year, when you put your television set off, you become more able to actually use your brain, because what television sets do, it doesn't matter what you're watching, is they actually form opinions in your head and you think it's yours and it's not really yours, and it's called predictive programming, right? So I became, therefore, I problematize the world, and I look at it and I'm like, so you are saying the world is like this, and what I'm seeing is something completely different. And that brings me here, basically, fast forward. I think the world is broken. I think the world systems are broken. And the financial system is broken. You don't know, I mean, I don't need to prove that to you. You know it. Your bank account shows it. You look on the, everybody knows the financial system is broken, right? But we are here to discuss one of the more critical, I think, than financial systems. We are here to discuss the broken food system. And I'm excited because I'm actually, I'm privileged and honored and even humbled to be on a same call like this with my sister from Kenya. I can't wait to hear her speak. I have done a little bit of research, and she speaks to my heart. And I think if food is meant to feed the body and the soul, and so I think her words are soul food for me. So I'm, like, buckle up. Let's go.
I was gonna say before Njoki goes,
Okay, Njoki, I'll let you introduce yourself and just take the stage away. The floor is yours, and then once you've done, then we can actually start throwing some questions back and forth. So Njoki, just speak to the topic.
Thank you so much. I feel privileged, and I have my ancestors with me. I feel them. I walk with them because I realized that I am not alone. I am a multitude because I am coming from somewhere and I am somewhere now and I am headed somewhere, and I am where I am coming from. And I come from a multitude, so I don't leave them behind. I started thinking about the systems and who controls the system. And I had that question for a very long time, asking about who is in control, because it's like everyone in the world has been streamlined into a certain system of thinking, that you've got to think in a certain way, you've got to pray in a certain way, you've got to eat a certain way, but yet you were born alone. You cry your own way. If you go to a maternate ward, or those who are still having children wherever in our local maternates, every child cries a different tone. And every baby occupies their own space. And when they are growing up, I have my grandchildren. One is with me here. And I always look at him, and he is an individual. He is a person. And he's not controlled by anyone. And he can tell me no. He knows when to eat. He doesn't care whether it is 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. He's hungry, he wants to eat. He wants to play with his toys. He wants to go to the garden. He wants to go look at the chicken. He has his time. And he does it the way he knows best. And most of the time I look at him and I feel like shedding tears, and I tell myself very soon he'll be introduced into a system. He will cease to be who he is, and somebody will start telling him who he is. So that person will cease to be, and another person will emerge. And that person will exist for a period of time, and then they will leave. That is what the systems have made us. I look at us, Alkebulan, and I'm happy because I got a chance of growing up in the village, doing all the village chores, running wild, going to the forest, jumping from one tree to another, jumping with the monkeys. Yes, that's my life. Knowing who is a boy, who is a girl. We used to swing from one side of the river to the next, just the way monkeys do it. Then all of a sudden, we were introduced into a system, and we are supposed to think in a certain way that, oh, you cannot do that because now you're going to school. So you got to look like people who have gone to school, people who are learned. And we have to worship in a certain way. We have to choose a day where to go and decide and say this is holiness. And I think that is where my confusion started. I started asking questions from when I was a very young girl. I grew up with my grandfather until he went to the beyond when I was 10 years old. I saw him. He was a diviner. So I saw what he was doing and I loved what he was doing. I was looking at the life in the village and everybody was everyone else. They had their space, but they're everyone else. My father would slaughter because he was okay, he was able. But the whole village shared in his meat. And there was no question about whose child is this. As long as there was a child, that child had to be fed. And that is how I grew up in the village. But then when we went to school, we are growing older, we are learning new systems. We didn't know it is an introduction into that human operating system. I like calling it the human operating system. With only whoever has the password, I don't know who has the password. We were told that is not right. If you got to look civilized, you've got to look educated, you've got to eat a certain kind of food if you've got to fit in this system. And went on like that. The Kenyan University, and then moving out of Kenya, going to America, and being looked down now, looked down seriously as you don't belong here. And then there is my village in my country, which is also telling me, no, you cannot fit the way you are. You need to be something else. But I can say maybe my life was just confusion. And coming back and finding my village turned upside down. The love that was there was no longer there. The concern. And then what I want to talk about tonight, which is the heart of the African home. The granary was no longer there in the African homes. Civilization had come into my village. Education had come into my village. Development had come into my village. And the granary had to be done with. And I would like to explain something for those maybe when they hear the granary, they're like, okay, what is that? The granary is the heart of the African home. Without a granary, there is no life because there is no food, there is no medicine, there is no protection. There's nothing to look forward to. The children have nothing to go home to because there is nothing. And what I saw is that now children waiting for mothers to come back home late in the evening, and they're sitting there, they're hungry because there's no granary until the meal is cooked around 8 o'clock. And my heart started bleeding when I saw what is happening. Malnutrition, starvation, can I call it disunity and disloyalty? That people would speak openly about someone else, spread rumors about somebody, and that was unheard of when I was growing up. All of a sudden, the homestead of an African changed. And they were being controlled by a system that has a spiritual connectedness, but it does not define spirituality. It's something that you've got to learn. You learn it to live it. Whereas in actual fact, you don't learn life, you just live. You don't learn to eat, you eat. You don't learn to use the bathroom. Your balls open up and you go to the bathroom.
Yep.
But then now there's a system that you have to learn to live. I hope, Duko, you're getting me. You learn you learn a system. And that's where we are now. An empty shell of an African home. And because of that emptiness, now anyone can come with information and give that information to us. And because we don't have what is ours, we just receive.
That's deep.
It's true. You have nothing on your plate and you need to eat. So anybody, you will eat anything and everything that is put on your plate. Problem is, will you be able to digest it? Are we able to digest what you're being given?
I think you got to stop. I think you got to stop. Let me. When you started speaking, 1 minute into it.
Yeah.
1 minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
2 minutes and 15 seconds. Any one of us could have continued. Because you are telling the African story. You are telling my story.
Yeah.
Oladile, try muting yourself, please.
And of course, I mean, you are speaking something that I've been actively looking into since 2008, which is nutrition and malnutrition. What does that mean? In a global setup in America, where my sister Nduko is, malnutrition is this fat Caucasian boy, 14 years old, Coke in the one hand, Big Mac in the other hand, malnourished, right? And according to studies, becoming an idiot, because we are eating ourselves more stupid. There's actually a drop in the IQ globally, right? In Africa, it's completely different because it's somebody that eats just one thing every day. Well, let's say every week, because, there's also starvation on top of malnutrition in Africa. But I want to really get to your it's really difficult for me to actually take one thing that you were saying, because like it's everything, right? I do actually want to say, maybe let me start here. None of what you are saying, none of what we are experiencing is by accident, and none of it happens in isolation of each other. What is happening in Gaza at the moment, in Gaza, what is happening in the Congo, what is happening in the Sudan, everywhere in the world is not happening in isolation, and it is not, how can I say, it all serves a singular purpose, actually. And the purpose is the same as taking people off the land and giving them public schooling so that they can learn stuff. They can learn how to be quiet when they are told to be quiet, to stand in a line when they are told to stand in a line, to ask to go to the bathroom if they need to go to the bathroom, to behave properly, So they taught us all these things, and then they put us in these buildings, completely taking the spirituality out of our existence. They're putting us in these skyscrapers. These are just factories, right? I mean, this is 150, 200 years old, industrial revolution, right? So they prepared the human automaton, the human idiot, the human robot. And today we are, I think, wait, it's too much, but I also want to say this, actually. Yo, it's crazy. I do want to say this, Njoki. We are at the pinnacle of civilization today. And the pursuit of civilization has turned us into the most barbaric that the human condition has ever been, ever, even during the time of Homo erectus. So I think you are right. I loved it when you were basically, saying that part of our problem is this pursuit of civilization. Because during the time of Homo erectus, I think when the Caucasian came, made this ego decision to set himself apart from nature. One of the ego decisions that was made was to plant food in a time when food was abundantly. If a human animal, like any other animal, felt hungry, he or she would put his hand out and reach something in nature and eat. Now we are learning to eat in the breakfast. We are learning to eat in lunch. We are learning to eat in supper. We are no longer eating when we are hungry, and now we are eating more than we need. We are having access to less than what we need, but there's always this pursuit of civilization. Is always, how much more can I get? Even if I'm not going to use it now, maybe I can keep it for my kids, while other people are starving and so on. I don't know. I'm saying a lot, so I'm gonna hand it back to you just by saying, your words are soul food, my sister. Soul food.
They're hurting. It's good when they hurt. It's good when they're hurt, because it will trigger someone to wake up. Now, I really want to talk about the heart of this conversation, and that is the African Granary, and understanding what the granary is. And it's good to understand what food is. What is food? Nduko, what is food?
The thing that we as human beings need to nourish us so that we can survive and have good health.
It's
In mental and physical.
food. Faisal, what is food?
I can tell you what it's not. I can tell you what it's not.
No,
I love this.
No. I'm asking what is food, not what it's not. What is food?
Faisal is
You see, it's actually very important for the audience, because we have been duped into believing that food comes in these shiny plastic wrappers. And we go to the stores and we buy these plastic shiny wrappers.
Yeah.
And it's really food-like stuff, but it's not food.
Thank you.
So this is what I want to do. It's so bad when we learn what food is at primary school in my country. You ask the kid, what is it? Where does tomatoes come from? They say Shoprite, local retail.
Yeah.
Where does milk come from? Shoprite. So what I would say, food is how I grew up. I planted onions and beans and cabbages and cauliflower and broccoli and carrots, potato. And I planted them when it was their time to grow. And when we harvested, it was their time to be eaten. And when I grew up, I didn't know about a disease called cancer. And no wonder, because I'm now 56 years old. And cancer is about 6 years old.
Do you hear me?
I can?
Yeah.
Oladele,
So-
mute your mic. It's actually quite disturbing hearing the voice chasing Faisal every time you talk.
All right. Can I go on?
Njoki, you sound
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Food is nothing but life.
Yeah.
Our life is food. But the human system decided that food is a commodity. Food is a currency. But if we go back to who we really are, food is life. Somebody knew that, and that is why they had to remove food from the home and put food outside there.
I like that.
And because of that, we created the person, I'm just saying the person or the system created two, let me call them multinationals. The food industry and the pharmaceutical industry. They are brothers, they are twins.
Boom.
Because food ceased to be life and it became a commodity. And this commodity has to create business for this business person. The food industry, because now it's no longer part of life of a family or a homestead. It is an industry. It has to create a business for the pharmaceutical industry. You poison what you eat, you process what you eat, and then I have a chemical solution for you.
Wow.
We poison our soil because soil is life. Soil is living. It is a life being, the soil. But if we poison it in disguise of producing something to eat because it's not food, then this guy who is the pharmaceutical industry will be in business for the rest of the life of the world. Chemical fertilizer, you kill the soil. To make sure that it continues to thrive, to grow something, you bring in a chemical. And then you put some artificial seeds. And then you boost them to grow to look like food. Our bodies, there is the way our body, whoever gave us this body, they were created and put in different places. Those who are put in Africa, we have our food in Africa that is fit for our melanin, for our DNA. But to make sure that this guy who is in the business of producing chemicals remains in business, we've got to remove that food from our home, bring in artificial food, and then come up with a chemical solution for the problem that has been created for not growing food. Because we are not growing food, we are growing diseases. It's unfortunate that 100% of the African vegetables have been classified as weed. And Africa now, we are so excited, we are growing Asian vegetables. We get so excited, we are growing cucumbers, we are growing lettuce, we are growing cabbages, blue, green, yellow cabbages. But our vegetables are no longer there, and we make sure this guy who is producing the solution, the pharmaceutical industry, is kept on business because we also need aid to grow whatever we have brought in, and this aid is a chemical. I don't know so much about chemistry, but I always wonder what happens if you mix a chemical with another chemical and there's an element.
Yeah.
We have, and how did it start? It's simple. It starts by name. A name is an ownership. That is why when this system was introduced to us, we had to be given strange names so that we lose our identity and we start following somebody else's identity. I cease to be Njoki, I become somebody else that is not even in my lineage. So I disconnect myself with the ancestors because they have no idea who I am, because I don't carry their label. So I belong to someone else. I don't belong with my people. The name. Everybody in Africa is either John, James, Mary, Jane. Nduko, Njoki, Kemani, Otieno. Why? Because the name is very powerful. It's not just a label, it's an ownership. You are owned by whoever names you because they know the meaning of what they have given you. So you cease to be the person that you are. And then you try to emulate this person you've been given who is very strange to you. You have no connection with that person. And that makes you now start following a system that you don't understand because you want to understand it. It has to be learned because it's not in you. I can't learn to be black. I'm black. I can't learn to be an African woman. I am an African woman. Whether I go to Asia, I'm an African woman. I can't learn that. So when our food started being named, we lost them. And because of their nutritional value, they had to be destroyed. And they were called weed, W-E-E-D, and S, weeds. So our health started going because the way our ancestors, the way our God had staged us is that whatever we eat, we are protected from every kind of disease. If you study our herbs, I have been studying our herbs for the last 7 years, looking at our vegetables, our herbs, our medicine. They were for prevention. That is why these trade diseases, they call them lifestyle diseases. None of them has an African name. We just coined them. Diabetes. You come to my community, we call it shukari. Shukari is sugar. Diabetes shukari because it doesn't have a name. Cancer, we call it kaja because we didn't have it. There's no blood pressure in my mother tongue, neither in Ukambani, even Jalu, even in Tanzania. There isn't. There's no name for it. Dementia, depression, there is no African name. There's no Alkebulan name. Why? Because this was not there. Because whatever we ate prevented all that. And that is why my grandfather lived to be 130. That is as per the white man, because our people don't count years. But he lived to see his great-grandchildren. And he just told me that he's going, and he went. And he was a strong man. My father the same way. But look at us. At age 40, our women are going through menopause. Even 40 years late. An African woman is a producing woman. She's a fertile woman. But now that ground had to be poisoned so that that African woman would stop producing. Why? Because you are a threat. Whatever you have is a threat to everyone. So starting with our herbs, our medicine, they had to be named. Strange names, and so they were classified as weed. That one was done with, and nowadays there's somebody producing chemicals to make sure they don't grow. I've been moving around my country, Kenya, and I'm amazed that most of the farms don't have weed, and people are excited, and they're telling me, "Oh, nowadays we don't have a problem with weed." And my question is, what is that this?
Did we lose Njoki? Oladele, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Njoki.
I think she froze for a minute. Is my sound good?
Your sound is actually perfect.
So just to touch on what Njoki is talking about, just a couple of things as we wait for them to come back in. Njoki, you're back.
Am I back?
Yes.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Sorry. I got disconnected. Maybe there's somebody who doesn't want us to talk about this. So, where was I? Of course, I'm laughing. Where? Duko, remind me where I was.
You were talking about weeds, our Mitugo.
Exactly. So our weed were named and classified here. I was telling you how I'm going around and finding no weeds, no vegetation on our farms. If it is maize, it is maize. And you don't know what species of breed it is. It is just maize growing on its own. They are not beans. If you plant beans and maize on the same farm and you're using chemicals, they will spare the maize and kill the beans. So then now, we have done away with our vegetables. Came now the other foods. We've been accused of Africans not keeping time.
Yeah,
But that's not it. It is because we were not controlled by a system. If you wake up in the morning and you don't want to eat anything, you're good. You go to your farm, you do whatever. And then when you feel hungry, it doesn't matter whether it is 11 o'clock, you eat because it is the body that is demanding. It is not the time. We don't eat time. We eat food. So now we have people eating, conditioned to eat at a certain time and something for particular time. I need somebody to help me understand whatever that means. And I don't know how our bodies, because they are not demanding food that time, how do we digest that? And mark you, we are digesting something that is foreign to our bodies. So there is no lack of food in Africa. What we have in Africa is an interference and an introduction of a system that has made us move away from producing food and growing food into doing business with a commodity that is consumable. I think that's the definition I can give.
Tell me, Njoki,
Yeah.
there's no African president that knows this, the stuff that so glibly rolling off your tongue like it's stuff, like a 5-year-old. Or is it more a situation where these African presidents actually represent the interest of this man you are talking about? And we are fooled into thinking every 5 years we elect this president or that president. It feels to me like I said in the beginning, there's nothing that is happening in isolation of each other.
Yes.
And so the African granary missing from the African home and village is by design and by desire.
Of course.
And therefore, if the African president simply they get switched on, and they go and do the bidding of the inherent historical enemy of the African people. And we wake up, it means we can switch them off.
Faisal, he who feeds you controls you. And I picked something from West Africa that if you get used to eating from your neighbor's pot, they will serve you dog meat and you will eat.
That is deep.
So look at what is happening with our leaders. I'm not afraid of saying that. And I always ask, even when I go to our media houses, I always ask, who do they represent? Are they us? Or is it us and them? How does it feel as a president? Let me tell you an example of Kenya. A week ago, there was a bill that has been passed in parliament that is barring us from sharing our indigenous seeds. Somebody tell me what that means. Because we share our I don't buy sweet potato vines. I'm living in the village now. I moved from Nairobi. I'm living in the village because I was doing some research. And I find women, you just fight somebody on the farm and you tell them, oh, can I get some vine? I want to go and plant. And it's just that. Oh, can I have a banana stump? I want to go and plant. There is no, I mean,
I can try to answer that for you.
Before you do, Faisal,
Duko say something. This is you and me.
can you hear me?
Yes.
So, I was looking at the chat as you're talking, and we have some observations that we should not talk about the problems, we should talk about the solutions. But how do you get solutions? I don't understand your problem.
Thank you.
That's the question. How do you even? First of all, there's no solution to carry out if you don't have problems. So in order to have solutions, there must be problems. And I don't think why Africans. I do know why Africans they do because they've been indoctrinated, right? Their minds are no longer in control. We must be able to chew gum and walk at the same time. We can talk about problems and solutions. In fact, we must talk about problems
Yes.
in order to understand solutions.
Thank you.
In order, once we have solutions, to avoid the problems in the future. That's why we talk about the problem. In the case that I'm talking about.
Exactly, Duko.
Yeah.
Maybe let me just interject.
Yes.
Before I forget. Something my grandfather used to tell me every time, that if you don't know where you're coming from, you cannot even explain where you are. And you cannot say where you're going. So when you talk about a solution, it is a solution to what? Because we've been having all these artificial solutions in the name of relief food. Right now we are talking about El Nino in Africa. That is water being wasted. That is rainwater being wasted. So we are just looking at El Nino as destructive, but we are not looking at El Nino as a source of rain. The water that we've been praying for the last 5 years. We are here talking about the destruction that is going to come with El Nino. What is wrong with us? Our rivers have been dry for the last 3 years. Our rivers have dried. So, are those the solutions we are talking about here? I'm sorry, I get worked up. I get angry.
You have nothing.
So when we are talking about a solution, it's a solution to what? El Nino has not started now. Actually, it was baptized in 1998. We've always had floods in Africa every 23 years.
Wow.
Yes.
I had a flood
It's
here a
been
month
there.
ago.
But it was baptized in 1998. Somebody decided, okay, it's a high time we give it a name. Yes. But what are we doing with El Nino? Our rivers have been drying for the last 2 years. Are we harvesting that water? So when we are talking about growing food in relation to the granary, and we talk about irrigation, and we are using water that is full of chlorine to irrigate our farms, and here is El Nino with us, and we can't tap it. We're just looking at the destruction. I don't know. Oladili, help me.
I'm listening to you intently because what you're saying basically hits home. We are creating problems to find solutions.
Thank you.
Things that were not there.
Yeah.
And the reason for it is basically for some people to make money.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Africans, we seem to just throw ourselves away from our origins to embrace what's not us. Consequently, we're basically turning ourselves against ourselves. You're talking about the food. Food is us. It's what makes us grow. It's what makes us, connect with Earth. With all the chemicals that we get into food right now. It's basically turning away from nature. And there is so many of us that are so indoctrinated that we cannot see how they're pushing us away from our origins.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, my sister, with the indoctrination that we have in our world today,
Yeah.
how can we make people understand that food is nature, food is us? How do we embrace it instead of pushing ourselves away from it?
Thank you. Thank you. It's a simple question that I've been asking people, and they look at me and wonder where I've come from, because I always tell people, look at your plate and ask yourself, are you eating life or death?
Ooh.
Yeah. It's that simple. So if you know you're eating death, and how do you know you're eating death? Where has that food come from? How is it grown? Chemicals. So automatically you're not eating food. You're eating death. So you decide, I want to live. This is a choice that somebody has to make. That I want to live. I want to get rid of these chemicals. I don't care what the government is abolishing all the indigenous foods. Yeah, yesterday I saw something else that was going around, that it is illegal in Kenya to promote or to package herbal medicine.
Wow.
It seems the African leaders have lost their Africanness in its entirety.
Who
Brother Oladele,
they serve?
could you?
Who are they serving? Is it
Yeah.
us? The other question is, who have put them there? And why?
That's the point that I was trying to make earlier, because I can tell you where they live. They live in New York, Washington. They live in London, Paris, Berlin, and Rome.
Faisal,
These are the handlers of our government.
Yeah.
can you hear me,
Yes,
Faisal?
Decisions are being made, and then when they are given to us, we start scratching our heads. Where did that come from? Like, how do you ban the sharing of indigenous seeds? I mean, how? I mean, and for who?
Yeah.
What with my grandmother in the village, who has always been propagating her seeds and sharing those seeds?
I want to answer that previous question because you are now going back to that
Hold on, Faisal.
question.
Hold on. Please, there's no need to continue if people cannot hear us. Hold on, please. Oladele, could you mute?
Who cannot hear us?
No, the echo is chasing, and I don't know. And people can put in the chat, thumbs up if you can hear us. If the echo is bothering so much that you can follow the conversation, give us a thumbs down.
Okay.
Because there's no use to go for now if you can follow the conversation.
Yep. Great. Do we know why it's there?
Echo on my side or where?
No, you're the only one who's the echo. The rest of us. That's the irony.
You go.
All right, switch off your mics.
Yeah, Njoki, you're fine. I think it's everybody else. Is that better?
Yeah.
No.
I can't get no feedback anymore. Oh yes, still.
We can.
Oladele, if you leave, is it going to end the session? If you leave.
Say that again.
If you Oladele leave, is it going to end the session? Because I have a query that it's on your end.
Okay, let me come out. Give me a second.
If you just come out, don't end it. Just come out. Don't end the session.
If I come, I'm gonna end the session. I don't want to do that.
Man, see, the other one that we use, mention the name, it allows you to come out.
Give me a second. Right.
I mean, the other solution is just let Njoki talk and we can listen.
Stop. What we're gonna do?
Are we okay?
Yeah, carry on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. For me, I don't have a
carry
problem with echo. I'm okay. I can hear. So the question I said is that I normally ask people, I mean, look at your plate. Are you eating life or are you eating death? Then from there, you make up your mind what you want to eat. Because what we are eating is what is destroying us. And that takes us, maybe somebody cannot relate what we are talking about with the granary. The granary is the heart of the African home. Before the introduction of the system,
Oh, now we cannot hear you, Njoki. You're like, it's as if someone threw you down the well.
It's very soft.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got
carry
some.
on, guys.
The echo is gone.
And now, can you hear me?
The echo's gone.
The echo is gone, but Njoki cannot be heard. Someone said that the problem was on her end, which I am starting to believe might be the case.
Yeah, because
but-
I'm fine. I've turned everything off on my end.
Njoki's just softer. She's not gone.
She's not gone. She's just softer. If she can turn up her volume, maybe.
Okay, I can turn it up I can turn it up here.
Oh, so you can control the volume.
I can control the volume. Njoki, carry on talking. Yeah.
And when you controlled it, it brought back the echo. The end, the problem is there.
I think I did not offer anything to my ancestors before I came.
Maybe
in.
that.
Maybe it's that. Maybe there you go.
I think I need to do it.
Njoki. Yes, please.
I need to do it.
Oladele, you didn't do an opening ceremony.
Yeah, we didn't do that before we
I
started.
have to give them something.
We didn't pour libation.
While she's there, I wanted to say that I think the handlers of our country's presidents and leaderships are getting impatient. That's why we have all these ridiculous laws now. And that's why, because the African immune system is the most efficient in the world. And you have Bill Gates saying on television that it's such a pity that COVID-19 did the least amount of damage in terms of taking lives on the African continent, that they don't need all these vaccines. He lamented the fact that the African immune system is so amazing. That's why they are flooding us with GMOs, chemical fertilizer, chemical pesticides, all of it. Did you know that you can find trace elements of glyphosate in both poles? Glyphosate is obviously Roundup. It's the chemical.
Yeah. And it's only used in Africa. It was banned in the US, Duko.
And that's what I always wonder, why Africans don't ask that question. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Faisal, do you mind taking off your headphones?
No, I can hear you. I can hear everybody.
I can hear you.
No, but just to figure out what the echo is.
Is my headphone echo?
No, I'm just saying, I'm trying something.
When you're talking about the emerging Alkebulan, because somebody has said that we are talking about Alkebulan and we are talking about Africa. We are one and the same. There is a lot in the name, yes. We are Alkebulan, we are Africans. So when we talk about Alkebulan, we are talking about our origin, we are talking about who we are, the mother of mankind. We are talking about what and who we represent. We are the sons and daughters of the sun. And we are actually the moon. We are the givers of life. But Africa is where we are, the continent. So don't feel offended when we are talking about we are mentioning Africa and we are emerging Alkebulan. And I think when we come to before the end of the conversation, we'll be able to explain exactly what is the meaning of the emerging Alkebulan. It is because it's like we've been living in dark ages. Then all of a sudden now we are raising up to realizing who we are. And I think it's because we have been pushed to a corner to the extent of losing their identity. And we find that we don't belong anywhere. And so I owe it to our ancestors because they're the ones who are now questioning us, asking us who we are.
Yeah.
So we are the emerging Alkebulan because for years we've been in the dark. And those years is what has opened doors to all that evil that is happening to us. So don't feel offended when we talk about Africa because that's where we are. Faisal has mentioned about diseases and the recent one is COVID. I would like us to go back to, I like taking people back to history because that's, if we don't research about who we are, we cannot know. And we may assume that it has started today. Killing or controlling the population of Africa started a long time ago. It's only in Africa that they're still using Depo-Provera. Yes. I don't want to talk about what happens to women when they use Depo-Provera. It's only in Africa they are using, what do you call it? The myclogenone and the eugenone. These are the hormonal pills because they go into the baby. If the woman is able to conceive later on, all those hormones get into our children. And that's why you find our population is going down. It's only in Africa that they're using Roundup. It's only in Africa that they're testing any vaccine that they're putting in the market. In Uganda right now, they want to start testing. They're testing for what? For, what do you call it? For, is it? It's a malaria vaccine for babies. And you wonder why babies? In Kenya, I hear Bill Gates was here. I don't know. I have no idea. But I understand our babies are going to be now digitized. By
Njoki, can I just say something?
Yeah.
I posted a video about 3 weeks ago where a Ugandan politician warned about the malaria vaccine.
Yeah.
That's been mandated. And he cried out. Obviously, we tried to reach out to him, we cannot get a hold of him. But these are the things that they're systematically doing to depopulate Africans. When we say these things, people that listen think we're conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much going on that a lot of us need to start being aware of and be cognizant of the evil that's been perpetrated in Africa. They're doing everything to depopulate, to control our food, control our economy, control our politics, control our education system. And like you said, we've moved away from who we originally are. We don't even know who we are anymore. And then the food, which is the most important thing, is being commercialized.
Yeah.
like you said, when you were in the village, people gave you things to grow.
Yeah.
As Africans, we don't think nothing of it. It's what we do naturally.
Yeah.
But these guys want to commercialize everything. Everything to them is fair game. They want to make money. And unfortunately, we Africans are not playing that game with them. That's why I kind of feel like we are behind, because we're not on the same level. We're not evil. But how do we find a way to actually counter all the challenges that we're facing?
Thank you.
If you can answer that one, please.
Thank you. We need to identify who we are. And that is why I said we are the emerging Alkebulan. You understand who you are. And understand that there is a system that is controlling you, and you've got to get yourself out of the system. And before we even do that, we need to ask ourselves, why is the West so eager to destroy Africa? And that comes from our name, the Alkebulan. It's only in Africa where we have an inexhaustible mineral reserves. We've been mining gold for years and years. It's still there. Americans, they exhausted their gold a long time ago in the 18th century. It's only in Africa now that you have uranium. Russia have a few deposits. But in Africa, we keep on discovering. Uganda has already discovered their uranium deposits. For how long has Botswana and Namibia been mining diamonds? Faisal. And they are not exhaustible. Look at our climates. And you know, when they talk about climate change, sometimes I say, do we really understand that we control the climate in Africa? We control the climate of the world. Because we are actually along the tropics. And we need to do very little to restore the ecosystem in Africa. Very little. But they interfere with our system to make sure that we don't control. I was asking somebody who is very senior, and they've been conducting this tree planting in Kenya, and I asked them, do you supposed to ask yourself what kind of trees you're planting? Because we just don't need trees. Now, we have our trees. Why can't we propagate our trees and replant them in our forests? How comes we are being given seedlings to come and plant in our forests? Yeah.
I just want to say something about that.
Before I'll forget, let me just say something before I forget. Nowadays in Kenya, everybody is crazy about a fruit that has come. It's being called the dragon fruit. It's an Asian fruit. In Africa, we have cactus. Cactus is more nutritious, like 100 times more nutritious than the dragon fruit. But we are getting rid of our cactus and planting the dragon fruit. So it's up to us to start thinking, and this now I'm answering you by asking yourself, who are you? Where do you belong? Is this your home? Is this your heaven? Yeah, I know Africa, we've been promised a heaven somewhere. But we've got to decide, is this our heaven, or we are headed somewhere else? Because if this is our heaven, can we protect it? Can we safeguard it? Can we restore it? Because we are not the last generation. There are others who are coming. We can restore our foods. We can restore our systems. We can say no to chemicals. If the producers of these chemicals have said no, it is not going to be used in their countries, how comes it's being used in Africa? I was telling another group that the Turkana community in Kenya were the first to produce was in the 16th century. They were the first to produce powdered milk.
Sure.
Yes. But is anybody listening? We have to import powdered milk from God knows where. And God knows how it has been processed. But our people have that indigenous knowledge. But systems don't allow them to practice. We experienced drought in Africa, which is normal. They have been there. But we watch our livestock dying. Yet our people have the knowledge of preserving meat up to over 5-6 years. But we wait for our cattle to die, our goats to die, and then we look to the West. Oh my goodness, we are hungry. Can you give us food? And that is when now we open doors to every evil. I don't know whether to blame the president or to blame ourselves. I don't know who. Look at the people who live in along the lakes. You people in West Africa, you are the best in preserving fish. Fish that can last up to 5 years when it is preserved. In the granary, not in a factory or in a cold room. In the African granary. I was doing a study of the systems in Africa, and I discovered that we are, the way you mentioned, that we are so tied with the earth, the environment, the animals, the trees, and everything. If you look at our goat, the sheep, and the wild animals in Africa, if they sense there's going to be a drought, they start aborting.
Yes.
But we listen to the weathermen to tell us.
Too true.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
We're talking about all these things. We need solutions. As Africans. That's what the emerging Alkebulan is all about.
Thank you.
Because we have followed the systems that has not worked for us thus far. The consequences, God help us, is going to be huge. How do we stop this from happening? How do we go back to ourselves and become ourselves? Find African Alkebulan solutions for the indigenous Alkebulan people. Because we go, so many of us are so indoctrinated that we've been educated by the West.
Yeah.
Our solutions come from the West.
Yeah.
We think we're African, but we sound European.
Yeah.
How do we go back to being European and not Negropean?
Thank you. It's simple. and I like using the example of a mirror. If you look into the mirror, you can decide what to see. You can decide just see your face. Or you can decide to see deeper than your face. And everyone in Alkebulan, we have a gift. There's nobody who is not gifted in Africa. We are gifted differently. And I would say, like for me, I've taken a step. And what I'm doing, I'm working on food. Making sure that every household in Africa has food, not given. They grow their own food. Returning the food to the home. Removing the food from the market. And returning the food to home. By restoring the granary in the African homes. That is the path I have taken. So, when you talk about solutions, we are not talking about a wholesale solution. It's about what you can do in your own small way. I learned from my mentor, Professor Wangari Maathai. She's in the beyond, she's watching. And she used to give us an example of a hummingbird. And she used to give a story of a fire that was in the forest. And all the animals were asking, oh, what do we do about this fire? It's getting bigger. It's going to burn the whole forest. We will not have a home. Then a hummingbird would go dash, fly, go to the river in his small little beak, take a drop of water, and then go and try and put the fire out. Then the elephant looked at the hummingbird and asked the hummingbird, "What are you doing?" The hummingbird said, "It's not what I am doing. It's about what you are not doing. I am doing what I can in my own way. So can you do what you can in your own way? You are big, you are mighty. You can carry gallons of water. For me, I'm carrying what I'm able to do." So the solution is about each of us occupying our space and choosing as per what, because you're being inspired by our ancestors. Whatever they have put in you, start doing it in your own small little way. I am organizing the first African Indigenous Food and Food Systems Expo. It's going to be this month here in Kenya, together with the Kenya Agriculture Research, Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization. And the theme is restoring the granary in the African home. And we are talking about the system, because our people understood when to plant and what to plant. Nowadays, with the education system, when it rains, it's whatever you want to plant or whatever the government gives. And in Kenya, I find we are planting maize and beans in every season. But we had a season for the black beans, jahe. We had a season for the millet, and that is when to plant the maize family. A season to plant the bean families, and then the tubers were planted throughout. And then there was a season, like now in November, is when they used to harvest now the vegetables, the African vegetables, and dry them and preserve them. Why? Because in January it's going to be dry and there will be no vegetables. So this is what I am doing. This is what we've started doing. That expo is a launch of a huge program that is going to run in all African countries. I'm happy we are already working with the African Union to mobilize African countries, and I'm happy to report that I have already over 10 countries that have confirmed that they will participate through their embassies here. We have Burundi, we have Zambia, we have Rwanda. Today we got Ghana, we have Malawi, we have Ethiopia. South Africa, you've not responded yet. Nigeria, you have not responded yet.
Call them out.
Call them out.
Namibia has not responded.
I'm sure in South Africa you are talking to people who are too busy pleasing their handlers.
So, and what has made me excited is that all these people, some are in the government, some are not, some are professional, some are just farmers. They are insisting that we have to start that project in their own home. I think people are tired of being fed and being fed dog meat. People want to feed themselves. So that is the solution to me. And every one of us have a solution. Let us not look at what else somebody else is doing. Look inside, put the mirror in front of you and go deeper than the face, go deeper than the skin. And you'll be able to discover what you are about. Be that hummingbird that Professor Wangare used to talk about. Be that hummingbird. Stop looking for a big impact. No. During COVID, because I think this is where I started, I saw people being given relief food from my village. And my village used to be very productive. And then during COVID, they're being given relief food simply because nobody is thinking of how to buy their harvest and go feed the hungry with their harvest. Our crops were rotting in the farms, and the government was busy trying to raise money to feed us. How do you feed us and our food is is rotting in the farms? In fact, I was working with the government that time and I got angry, I had to resign. And that's what triggered me. What can I do? And I discovered that we don't grow food. We grow a commodity for the market. And then we pass through the same market and try to buy food. And that is the hypothesis I used. And I asked the question, can you explain how do you sell and then in the same market you're buying what you can grow? And I've been challenging even the county government, and I'm asking them, who eats the flower beds? Because we have flower beds all over. Who eats them? Bougainvillea, they're all over. Yeah. So we need to grow food, and my policy is that every family should be able to grow their own food. They should be able to propagate their own seeds. They should be able to preserve their own food to last them up to the next season. So that is my solution.
Okay, Njoki.
So welcome to the
ask any
expo.
questions?
Now, before you go, welcome to the expo.
I would love.
Can I get an invitation as well?
Yes.
Is it
There will be a virtual, there will be, those who will not be able to travel in the country because of the time, they will be having sessions virtual. It is a 3-tier expo. We've already set up a demo farm where people will be coming even after the expo to learn our indigenous systems.
Nice.
And when we are talking about modern agriculture, we are not talking about chemicals. We are talking about applying technology to our indigenous ways because we have the knowledge. Chemicals are destructive, but machinery make our work easier. Yeah. And making sure that we are also setting up a granary and looking at how we can modernize it without using chemicals. We have our ways. And then there will be a seminar, of course, different people from different countries in Africa talking about their indigenous ways and promoting our own food. I think that way we can now be speaking to the government and telling them, I think we are powerful than you are, and we need to feed ourselves. Yeah. And you're not going to dictate our plate. You're not going to dictate what I put on my small piece of land for my stomach. Why? The narrative that has been there and that is there, and you know it. When you want to export any food to the Western and American market, they are high standards. And nowadays they are using this traceability technology that somebody sitting in somewhere in London, they are able to look at my farm and see whether I'm using any chemicals or my neighbor is using any chemicals, so I'll be barred from exporting. But that food ends in our local market. Any food that is rejected at the airport because it's not reaching the standard, it ends in our markets. So how are we rating ourselves?
Whoa.
And then, of course, we are opening our doors to people who have innovations, special innovation related to food. And I said when we started, food is about life. So is any innovation about food, they'll be given a chance to talk about their innovations on the last day, that is on the 24th on Friday. All those young innovators, you'll be given 10 minutes in that seminar, and it will be broadcasted live all over to talk about what they're doing. You are in bees, you're in pumpkins, you are in our indigenous vegetables, you are into technology, digital, you're welcome. Thank you. That's what I'm doing. That's my solution.
Thank you, Njoki. Njoki, have you got anything to say?
No. I have a lot to say, but I have an echo that keeps chasing me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm loud and clear. So, I agree with what you're doing, and I hear you mention African Union, and I caution as you. I hope and I know from you when you're aware. that you spread lightly to the rest of the African Union, right? And at all costs, as we carry out our solutions, we must avoid the foreigner who always feels like they need to interject themselves in our solution. So maybe mute yourself, Oladele, please. Because when you muted yourself, we were fine. See, that's my irritated self. There you go. Oh, now we can't even hear.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Now, can you hear me? Perfect. Yes, that's the solution. Please keep it that way, Oladele. Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness, my ears are loving that.
It's brilliant, yeah.
It is just, it's as if I need to stretch first of all, because that was a lot of work listening to all those voices. Anyway.
Yeah.
We must
participating.
Yes, I'm glad to see you doing the work you're doing, Njoki. And when Oladele told me you were coming, I said, I want to come because I want to hear and I want to also participate in the conversation with you. I cannot wait to come back home and see you and actually work with you and get my hands in the soil with you. It's always a joy watching you in the garden. And yes, I agree the solution is in bringing back Grandma's Granary. As a child, and I was scolding my family this week because the rains are here and I'm like, make sure we plant, make sure that we have beans. So, and I'm telling them, grow the corn, but with the corn, grow the beans, because the beans bring in the nitrogen and they help the soil. So those different ways. And we have, I'm not sure if you know her also, Njoki, there's Mama Mwatima in Zanzibar. She's doing permaculture, where you use nature to heal the soil, and it's a cycle of taking care of each other in nature, right? Us and the plants, and us and the plants, and all around. When I went to school, I went to school in Molo, that's in the Rift Valley, and it was a boarding school, and the students are the ones who took care of the garden. We're the ones who took care of the animals, like with also custodians who helped during the day. But every weekend, every now and then, we would go to the garden, help with weeding. They used to take the waste from the latrines every semester. At one point, the waste from the latrines, and you all Western-minded people are going to hold your nose and say, how can Africans do that? No, that is where the nutrients are. We excrete, and that sits and builds all the fun stuff that the soil loves, and you send it back to the soil, and then the soil gives us the good stuff. We eat it and we excrete. Yes, you all go and take it out of your system, and it sits somewhere and builds all those nice biochemicals and everything, the good stuff, and you send it back to the soil, and we eat, and we are taking care of each other as the ecosystem. And if you all remember in school, in primary school, there was that drawing that went like that, right? You remember that drawing? Even in rain, there was that drawing. So it's a cycle of taking care of ourselves, nature. And when man walks into the lab and tries to play God, that's when the mistakes come in. I am all for invention, but when it comes to my food takeaway, scientist, I am for Africa going back to. Oladele, did you unmute again? Where's my spear? I need. there's some bad ancestors coming in from another culture. We need to stop them. And listen, and that's the problem. We are interfering with, and honestly, in all seriousness, we act like we don't realize that we are at a spiritual war as well. They have their ancestors, and their ancestors are not good people, and we have ours. And we might be fighting in a physical war, but there's a spiritual war going on too. And we as Africans, unfortunately, do not want to acknowledge that. But there is that. My goal now is to make sure that I go back to the days of my childhood, where we were sent to my grandma's, and there were beans on the ground that we had to beat so that they got out of their pods. We would sort them out. There was maize, there was pumpkin. My grandma's house always had food. Always. There was doma. We had so much. Doma is what do you call it? Yuca is what you all call it. We had sweet potatoes, we had bananas, we had avocados. Avocados were falling off the tree. And my own grandma's farm All that is gone. So earlier this year when I went, what did I do? I made sure we replanted. We replanted 5 avocado trees. We replanted a couple of banana trees. And that's what each African must do now to bring back grandma's granary. You must start replanting. I remember a friend here in the United States, a descendant of enslaved Africans in the US, said to us in a meeting recently, you are not a revolutionary if you don't have some sort of farm, whether you're in an apartment or a farm. So guess what? Outside of my apartment, right there on the porch, I have peppers and tomatoes. I just ate my first tomato yesterday. So we all must start going back to planting for ourselves. And in a couple of days, I'm going to harvest my 3 peppers because it's an apartment garden. It's tiny, but we have to take it from the tiny to the expansive, where we are controlling what we eat. So every time I buy peppers, I take the seeds out and I save them. And I buy things that have seeds. This business of seedless, ask yourself, seedless, that means I'm going to be dependent on the grocery store. If it's seedless, it means I have to come back to you to ask you for food all the time. And if it's seedless, how the hell did you make it? And what else did you put in it when you were making it?
Tell me about it.
So yeah, I see the comments in the chat. Action. Start growing your food. We as Black people, we as Africans here in the United States, in the UK, in Africa, let's start buying land together. Come to me if you're willing to do that. Come 10 people. I need $5,000. We can buy land in Kenya. How about that? That's the down payment. And then we can start paying monthly for the rest of it. That's the loan in Kenya to get 10 acres. Send the money. We can buy land together. And you're worried about where your money is going to go. Oh no, the money is going to be in the land. You're going to be watching every time what we're doing with the land. You can monitor what is going on, what food is being produced. If you want, you can travel to the land. How about that? So we keep talking all this big talk, but let's start coming together to raise money so that we can start buying land. We can start growing the food.
Thank you. Faisal, if you want to go. Thank you, Njoki, for that.
Yeah, I think I was completely on. I don't know. My ancestors are clearly not happy with me. Okay, it's gone. Oh, that must have been you, Oladile. I think I was completely on target when I said in the beginning, I am humbled and honored and privileged to be sharing the stage or this conversation with my sister Njoki over there. She speaks my language. And I wish I could go to Kenya and spend months with her learning, But I do want to say, I think I like what she says about, so what's the solution? And I want to say 2 things. First, I want to say that I live on a small piece of land, maybe 5 hectares, and we've been growing food. And we've been getting eggs from chickens. We used to get milk to make our own yogurt, etc., and cheese. We sold the cows, but we're looking at getting them again, and maybe I personally prefer goats. But the real point about how do we help the situation, how do we change the situation, is there's a government program in South Africa called Community Works Program, and there's another one, SEF. I'm not going to something employment fund, but it creates opportunities for people. And so we've got 4 people on the farm who gets paid by this government program, and they come and work here. And so when they started, I said, you're not just going to come and work here, because you have to come and learn here. So now we're showing them what to grow, when, how to prepare seeds, how do you tame the winter weeds, etc., without using with cardboard, and taking the weeds and put it on top of the cardboard, so the weeds at the bottom don't come out, and so on. And then how do you? And now you can see from seed, you can see this miracle of nature. You put a seed, a dead thing, a seed, you put it in the ground, you put water on it, and then you see life. Like you said, food is life, and then you see life. And then I think today I harvested beets, and one of the most amazing feelings in the human chest is when you harvest food. I don't know of a happier feeling when you harvest food. And so then these people are learning with subliminally, right? And then I say, well, bring me a photo from doing this at your house.
Yeah.
You know, so this is a little bit about how we, like you're saying, what is it that you can do? You look in the mirror and you're like, okay, I can, this is what I can do, right? But I want to go maybe one. Oh, we're getting load shedding now. Sorry. I do want to say this. We need to capture the wisdom from Professor Matai and Njoki and all of us in one way or another, in such a way that we don't want to teach the African child, but we want to remind the African household.
Mm.
So there's a difference between capturing something, putting it in books and movies and so on for teaching, because this is what the Caucasian enemy of the black people wants. We want to remind ourselves, because this is not new things. These are tattooed on our DNA, right? So I have to stop there because I might be cut because of the power, you know, like somebody's decided that South Africa is the test case for withholding energy for the world. And so because we are the latest or the last African country to be
Oh
free.
no, because we're still a colonial state. That's why.
Yes, that's where I was going.
You'll go green. You'll start producing. You have human waste because, as my sister Duko has said,
Yeah,
human waste has a lot of biogas.
Yes.
Biogas produces power for lighting and cooking. For me, I don't quarrel with Kenya Power anymore. I don't even know how much they are selling power. I am not interested. I decided to go green. It's my decision. I don't have any bills for gas, for electricity. I'm good.
Nice.
Something else I need to add. As we are talking about food, let us also think about our utensils. And when you've talked about learning, we need to learn why our people were using clay. The Chinese now are getting clay from Kenya, taking it to China, making clay utensils, which are damn expensive. And the clay is ours. Thank you. And imagine what aluminium and steel does to your body.
Yeah, guys, this conversation is so.
And you know, when they are taking our clay, they are taking even the remains of our ancestors.
Yes.
We want them here with us. So can we make those utensils? Can we start also thinking of how you can utilize what we have? Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap this up.
Quickly before you wrap up. for those in apartments, I wanted to because buying pots in the West is very expensive. So I remember when I started doing my little garden outside, that is something that I had to confront. But I took these bags. All of you buy grocery bags, they're canvas bags, and that's what I use for my pots. I recycle my grocery bags, put the soil in them, go outside, and that's what got me my pepper. So you don't buy expensive pots. You recycle and they're the canvas ones. They're aerated. Just put your soil in there and grow your plants. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Njoki, for your time. We really appreciate you coming. It's been very insightful, informative, and educational. And I'm inspired. Talking about what you're talking about, land is basically our basic human needs. It's basically our rights. Yeah. Right now in Africa, our land is being sold away. they're sold to any person. We need to protect our land. Because if we have no land, we have no freedom.
Yeah.
And then to grow the food, we need the land.
Yeah.
Africans, we need to protect our land. The Chinese, the Americans, the British are buying as much. I was in Nigeria recently, and the Chinese have bought so much.
Yeah.
And we are so, excuse my language, so stupid. We think we are advanced. We think we are developing. But what we're doing is throwing our birthrights away.
Yeah.
So guys, we need to be awakened. We need to basically, what you think is good is not good for us. We need to get away from all this European thinking. We need to start being African, indigenous African thinking. It's difficult for most of us because we've been there for years. But it's never too late. The solutions thus far has not helped us. Njoki, I'm with you. We're going to plan a way forward. We're going to all link up together. My sister has got solutions there. Let's tap in with her. Let's reach out to her. Whatever you are, if you're listening, let's do this together. This is basically what the Emerging Capital is all about. Bringing people together. Wherever you are, we're basically diasporans and continental Africans together because we are one. Ubuntu. I am because you are, and you are because I am. Thanks, guys, for your time. And finally, I'm just going to say, we've got another broadcast coming up on Sunday. Say they're coming thick and fast, guys. This one is we're going to be talking about the pre-colonial Africa. How did we get here?
Thank you.
Because basically, a lot of us don't know our history.
Yes.
And this is coming from a diaspora perspective. So guys, tune in, 7 o'clock UK time. We're going to be back again. It's going to be insightful. But all this being said, we need solutions. So let's reach out together. Let's collaborate together. Let's find solutions within ourselves. We do not want no Muzungu on the table. We are our own solutions. Thanks for your time, guys. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourselves and feed yourselves.
Njoki.
Ogokale.